Welcome to the Psychology Secrets podcast, where boundaries are not included. All right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Dakota here, coming at you live from beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada, with episode number 1 of the Psychology Secrets podcast. In this episode, I'm excited to unveil our plans for this podcast and offer you a behind-the-scenes look at how the realm of psychology can be harnessed to elevate various facets of your life, from personal growth to sales techniques to marketing strategies and even all of your entrepreneurial endeavors. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the podcast that I present to you today, this is a culmination of over a decade of dedicated work. It is the introduction to the advanced psychology that lies at the heart of marketing, sales, and entrepreneurship. The psychology secrets that you will be exposed to via this podcast is founded in principles of psychology, neuroscience, and hard facts, and is the result of extensive research and collaboration with some of the most brilliant minds in the world. But I must warn you, this podcast is not for the faint of heart or for those with less than noble intentions. I have been extremely hesitant about releasing this information in a public format like this because this information can be easily misused if put into the wrong hands. So if you're an entrepreneur tuning into this episode and you have good intentions, you're committed to long-term success, this podcast holds these secrets that will transform the way that you perceive marketing, sales, and entrepreneurship. Now, in this day and age, there's no shortage of books, courses, and podcasts on sales, marketing, psychology, and even entrepreneurship, if you will. And yet, despite all the available information that is in the current marketplace, there remained a great need for a resource like this that could take this study on these subjects to an entirely different level. This podcast will not be a collection of stories, tricks, tips, and hacks. No, this is a work of depth and substance. It is the world's first in-depth examination of the psychology that lies at the heart of successful marketing, sales, and entrepreneurship. This podcast is for those who seek to advance their understanding of people, master their own potential, and push the limits of what is possible. It is a podcast of science, psychology, and real substance. The knowledge contained in the episodes ahead will expose you to a wealth of high-level strategies and resources to help you enhance both your professional and personal lives in ways that you probably don't even realize are even possible. In the description of each one of the upcoming episodes, you will find a variety of hyperlinks. These hyperlinks are not meant to entice you with sales pitches, but rather to equip you with practical tools, resources, and coaching to solidify the principles that you're going to discover through this podcast. In the episodes to come, we will be covering a variety of extremely powerful topics that include personality psychology, peak performance psychology, leadership psychology, money psychology, preloading psychology, cognitive bias psychology, sales funnel psychology, marketing automation psychology, paid traffic psychology, organic traffic psychology, conversion rate optimization psychology, social engineering psychology, intel gathering psychology, elicitation-based psychology, influence and persuasion psychology, and one of my favorite, mind-bending, belief-changing, thought-provoking, and perception-changing, mind-bending psychology, and so much more. All the principles that you're going to learn in this podcast come from our Psychology Secrets methodology, which at its core focuses on cognitive psychology, neuropsychology, occupational psychology, as well as social psychology. This methodology acts as a guide that will help you find true success through real self-discovery, marketing, sales, and entrepreneurship. It will enable you to unlock the most potent psychology that lies at the heart of greatness and enable you to use those techniques and strategies to help you achieve everything that you desire and quite frankly deserve in this life. Now, at this point, you're probably wondering who I am, so here is the short story. On February 16th, 2015, I started my journey in entrepreneurship. A few years later, I sold that business for a very sizable profit. A few years after that, I built a very successful marketing and sales consulting practice. I eventually got the attention of Jordan Belfort, the Wolf of Wall Street, and I ended up living with him in Hermosa Beach, California, where I became his full-time chief marketing officer. A year or so after that, I hit a plateau in my personal earnings, and even though I was earning over $350,000 a year, I felt like I could never get ahead. The mortgage payments, the country club memberships, the credit card payments, they just kept rolling in every single month. And at the time, instead of focusing on cutting my expenses and saving more money, which to be quite frank, I had never really been good at, I decided to focus on production and making more money. Not knowing where to start, I went back to the fundamentals that had made me somewhat successful thus far, and I started to train intensely on marketing, sales, and entrepreneurship again. After spending nearly $80K on my Amex seeking advice from coaches, consultants, and other gurus, I finally came to two very valid questions. One, why did it seem like all the information that I was consuming was regurgitated and respun information from Dale Carnegie, Zig Ziglar, and Brian Tracy? And two, why did it also seem that all the training I was exposing myself to was backed by outdated theories, opinions, and experiences, but had no scientific evidence of actually working? This is where I finally came to the conclusion that the reason I wasn't operating at my full potential and was unable to break through my current confinements was because I didn't scientifically understand the psychology of human beings, which of course made a lot of sense to me. I mean, of course, it would be more easier and more effective to influence and persuade something that I actually understood from a scientific level, right? At this moment, I went down a rabbit hole that I could really never come back from. This is where my intrigue of human psychology became my obsession, my passion, and my calling. Since then, I've spent the last decade of my life on a relentless pursuit of truth through psychology and science. I've traveled all over the world. I've had the privilege of working with and being mentored by some of the most brilliant psychologists, neuroscientists, doctors, and entrepreneurs. I've gone on to build high-performance sales teams for some of the fastest growing companies in America. I've built 6-8-figure businesses and even helped take a company or two public. I've had $100,000 days, multi-million-dollar months, and I've made more money than I ever imagined was possible for me. Probably just like you, I thought the path to getting paid was to just simply focus on getting paid. I thought the only way to become a top earner was to outwork everyone else. I thought balance was a joke, and I thought the only way to see progress was to be extreme. I thought the stress, sedation, and chaos was just a part of the profession I had chosen. But thankfully for me, I was wrong. You see, the understanding of psychology and people at a fundamental level has been the key to my personal success. It's made my professional life easy. It's allowed things to naturally happen with very minimal effort. It's allowed me to charge more, do less, and get more. It's even forced my ideal prospects to chase me and even jump through hoops to get my attention. At first, I have to admit, I thought it was luck. Eventually, I thought I had some type of golden boy syndrome, but then I realized this is what happens when you develop proven alchemy and the psychology of people. Now, years later, my priorities have changed. I am no longer forced to chase money, so now I've chosen to pursue my passion and purpose by chasing true impact. I have now devoted my present life to creating a movement that's not backed by theory, fluff, or a guru. A movement that doesn't rely on popular opinion, perceptions, or biases, if you will. A movement that's validated through science and facts, and a movement that is on a mission to create a new breed of entrepreneurs and professionals that rise to the top of their individual domains. As you listen to this podcast now, this podcast has gone on to create a bit of a revolution. And through this revolution, the Psychology Secrets Collective was born. Today, we're an emergent group of psychologists, scientists, and entrepreneurs that are on a collective mission to help entrepreneurs and professionals just like you optimize their marketing, sales, and business through true psychology, neuroscience, and of course, social engineering. Now that we've put our psychology secrets to the methodology in the corporate world for the last 4 or 5 years, we have quickly realized that our methodology doesn't just work for large corporations with insane training budgets. It works even better for individual professionals. As of today, our students are evolving. Their lead gen is powered by optimized sales funnels. Their conversion rates have doubled. Their businesses are thriving, and they've become masters of human psychology. Because of our Psychology Secrets methodology, our students, they're running both lean and mean sales organizations while operating at their full potential, while their competitors struggle to fill their calendars with pre-qualified and pre-loaded appointments and spreading themselves thin by prospecting, qualifying, closing, and chasing their tails while operating in a place of chaos instead of order. Our listeners and students are fully booked with prospects lining up to purchase extremely high-ticket offers. After hundreds of success stories, we have decided to release our methodology to the public via this podcast. So if you're an entrepreneur, a marketer, a sales professional, maybe a consultant, maybe a coach, an attorney, a leader, or any type of business professional, I want you to strap in and get ready to go on a transformational journey that will change the way that you look at marketing, sales, and entrepreneurship for good. So here's what to do next. 1, if you're new to the podcast, subscribe to the podcast. If you're watching this from YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're also watching this from YouTube, click that notification bell so you're notified each week when we release an episode of Psychology Secrets. And last but not least, get ready for next week's episode where we're going to show you exactly how to understand thyself as well as others through cutting-edge personality psychology. Be great, enjoy the day, and we'll see you on the next one. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to the Psychology Secrets podcast where boundaries are not included. We appreciate your support, your comments, as well as your engagement. As always, check the description of this particular video for additional insights, coaching, and training on all the principles that you learned in today's episode so you can solidify these principles and master the art of psychology. Be great, enjoy the day, and we'll see you on next week's episode.